Hey everyone, ready to unlock a learning superpower you might have forgotten you had?
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Today's deep dive is all about playful learning. And no, it's not just for kids anymore.
Right, like we need permission to have fun.
We're diving into learning through play, a review of the evidence, a white paper from the Lego Foundation.
Their mission is so cool. Building a future where play empowers lifelong learners. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Exactly. So the paper starts by talking about today's world, how fast everything changes, all the uncertainty. It can feel overwhelming.
Totally. It's a lot to deal with, and that's where the paper asks this really important question. How do we equip ourselves and future generations not just to survive in this world, but to really thrive?
And their answer, playful learning.
It's about moving past just memorizing facts, rote learning. It's about building that deep understanding, the kind that lets us actually use knowledge in new situations and come up with fresh ideas.
This reminds me of when I was trying to memorize multiplication tables. Torture by flashcards. It wasn't until I started picturing multiplication as, like, groups of objects that it finally clicked.
And that's what the paper's talking about. They have this great example of a kid who can count to 10 perfectly, but then struggles to count 5 pieces of candy.
It shows the difference between surface-level memorization
Hmm.
and really understanding a concept.
Exactly. It's about getting the meaning, not just spitting out facts. And that's where playful learning comes in. The paper breaks it down into 5 key characteristics, and these aren't just buzzwords, they're backed by research. First up, it's got to be joyful. We learn best when we're genuinely enjoying ourselves.
Right.
It's like, if it's not fun, why bother? Well, okay, maybe sometimes we have to learn things that aren't a total blast, but you get the idea. The second characteristic is that playful learning has to be meaningful. It's got to connect to what you already know, stuff you actually care about.
It's like when you're learning something new and suddenly you're like, whoa, I could use this in my own life. It's not just information anymore, it's a tool.
Exactly. And who doesn't love a good tool, right?
Hmm.
But it's not enough to just have the tool, you got to use it. So the third characteristic is that playful learning is actively engaging. It's not just sitting back and absorbing. It's about getting your hands dirty, experimenting, really making your brain work.
This totally reminds me of when I was learning to code. Just staring at lines of code was so intimidating, but then I started messing around with it, making little changes here and there, and suddenly I was hooked. It felt so much more, I don't know, engaging
Yeah.
and way more fun.
You got it. That's active engagement for sure. And that actually ties into the fourth characteristic, which is being iterative. It means you're cool with experimenting, trying things out, making mistakes, and learning from them. You're constantly refining your understanding.
So it's not about being perfect right off the bat. It's about enjoying the journey, right?
Yep.
Which takes a lot of pressure off, by the way.
Right. It's all about the process.
So we've got the joy, the meaning, the active part, the trial and error thing. What about the social side of learning?
Oh, that's huge. That's our fifth and final characteristic. Playful learning is often socially interactive. Think about those awesome brainstorming sessions at work, or the feeling of accomplishment when you finish a group project, or even just nerding out with people who share your passions. Those interactions are pure gold for learning.
Absolutely. There's nothing like feeling like you're part of a community of learners. It makes such a difference. So we have these 5 characteristics, but how do we actually put them into practice as adults? It's not like we could just ditch our responsibilities and hit the playground.
Well, you could, but yeah, I hear you. It's a little more nuanced than that. We can still weave these principles into our adult lives, though. Think about learning a new language. Instead of those dry textbooks, why not try a language learning app like Duolingo? It's like a game. It's fun, you can pick topics you actually care about, and you can connect with other learners online. It ticks all the boxes.
That's such a great example. It's not about abandoning traditional learning altogether. It's about finding ways to make it more, well, playful. What about learning a new skill, like, say, coding or photography?
There are so many workshops and online courses now that are all about hands-on learning. Roll up your sleeves, make some mistakes, figure it out as you go. That's the iterative approach in action.
And let's not forget about joining communities, book clubs, hiking groups, those online forums for your favorite hobby, whatever it is. Those interactions are so valuable. It's like they say the best way to learn is to teach. Sharing what you know really solidifies your own understanding.
100%. And you make some great friends along the way.
It's funny, isn't it? We often think of learning as this really serious, disciplined thing, almost like a chore. But this research is saying maybe we've got it all wrong. What if embracing play and curiosity actually unlocks our true learning potential?
I think you're onto something. And the best part is, it's not just some fluffy feel-good idea. There's actual science behind it. The paper talks about some really interesting findings from neuroscience, like literally what's going on in our brains when we tap into playful learning.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me more about what's happening up there.
So basically, when we're engaged in playful learning, certain areas of our brain, like the ones associated with reward, memory, and attention, they just light up. It's like a party in there.
So you're saying our brains are actually wired to learn better when we're having fun.
Exactly. Take the hippocampus, for example. It's this part of the brain that's super important for memory. Well, it turns out the hippocampus is way more active when we're enjoying the learning process. It's like our brain is saying, hey, this is important. Let's store this information away for later.
It's like our brains are saying, hey, this is fun, let's remember this. Makes those boring lectures even worse when you think about it.
Right. No wonder I couldn't remember what I had for breakfast after some of those. But seriously, this ability to learn through play, it doesn't just disappear when we grow up. The paper focuses on kids, yeah, but the message is bigger than that. Makes you think, what if we stopped seeing play as something we grow out of? What if we embraced it as this essential part of a happy, successful life?
It's like we're relearning something we already knew deep down back when we were kids.
Totally. And if we can all tap back into that, who knows what we could achieve?
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. It really makes you think differently about how we learn. At any age, really.
It really does. So what's the biggest takeaway for you?
For me, it's that reminder that learning doesn't have to be a chore. It
Right.
doesn't have to be all serious and no fun. We can have both. And honestly, embracing that playful, curious side of ourselves, that might be the secret sauce to unlocking our full potential.
I love that. And if I can leave you with one last thought, it would be this. How can you bring more playful learning into your life, starting today? Whether it's trying a new hobby that just sparks your curiosity, tackling a challenge at work with, like a sense of experimentation, or even just giving yourself permission to find more joy in those everyday moments. Seriously, the possibilities are endless. Don't forget your inner child, that playful spirit. It's a powerful ally in your journey of learning and growing. So go out there, have some fun, and see where it takes you.